Coach Teresa Ford here, and this is the Guiding You Home podcast. This is a thought-provoking and often humorous approach to moving you closer to the only one who can genuinely help you live a life of abundance and prosperity. Sound good? Yeah, it's you that needs to go within so you can sit in the driver's seat of your life, co-creating with God. So make room for more light and knowledge. As you continue to listen, you will discover elements of how to lead with your inner light, how to act on your specific promptings, and how to follow your spiritual intuition so you can fulfill the measure of your creation. Thanks for being here, and let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back. We are going to talk about emotional shoplifting today. I would say that emotional shoplifting is closely related to unbelief. You know, there's that scripture in Mark 9:24, and it says, "Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief." Yeah, that for some reason that just really hits a note with me, my unbelief. And I think that those are the dark parts of us that don't have light yet. And they are begging us to shine some light in those dark corners of our unbelief. So emotional shoplifting is a lack of believing. It's a lack of believing how loved you are. It's a lack of believing how belonged you are. It's a lack of believing how known you are. I think we spend a lot of time searching out, who am I? And who am I to you and you and you and you and you? It can lead to loneliness, it can lead to aloneness, and it can lead to profound loneliness, chronic loneliness. You can be with other people and still be lonely. Now, it covers some of this information in episode 9. It was, I talked a little bit about giving to get. That's what emotional shoplifting is, but we're going to dive into the unbelief part of emotional shoplifting. And I'm going to give and give and give parts of myself away so that I can feel fulfilled in the dark parts. My unbelief will then be believing, but I'm going to get it from you, the mortal man who is an enemy to God. I'm going to get it from you who has not figured out your own crap. That's the thing. Like, if we feel like we lack something inside, it's only because we thought we were supposed to get it from somebody else. Usually that's a childhood wound. It came from emotionally immature parents that were not able to emotionally connect with you, that it gave you relationship anxiety because you were like, I hope today's the day they can love me because they've been on the struggle bus for a week now and I haven't received any love from them yet. I've only received their struggle. When all that's going on, it's really, really hard for you to see who you are because you're just paying so much attention to what the other person's doing and whether or not they're doing their job, which you think is to give you the full 360, I see you, I know you, and I love you anyway. But once we hit 18, if we didn't get that in our childhood, it is our job to help support ourselves emotionally. Okay, so let's put an age on this. Let's say 32 is my favorite age. It's the age I'll be forever. I've got my kids so conditioned to believe that when I turn 57, they're like, "So how old are you really?" And one of them asked, "How old are you really?" And the other 4 echoed, "She's 32." But let's just say at 32, it's this really good age between 32 and 46, that you're smart enough to not do stupid things, but yet you're emotionally developing into your own person. Like there's a lot of morphing that happens in that decade, and you're hanging out with people that you knew in your childhood, right? Whether it's siblings or parents, or it's usually the close, intimate relationships that you did have or should have had with these people. And let's say you're still around them, that they will say things because their memory of you is in the past. Like my sister, she will always think of me as the 6-year-old she came home to visit, because she's 18 years older than me. So she always remembers me as the little, shiny-eyed kid that was so happy to see her. And she still sometimes talks to me that way, even though she's in her 70s and I'm in my 50s. And it's like, but I'm a grown woman now, and you don't have to use your baby talk to talk to me. So if you're hanging out with people like that, and I'm not saying these are bad people for seeing you at an age that they remember you best at, I'm saying that it's your response to them that matters, because that's what determines where you are that day. Emotionally, that's emotional health, right? We've got to either stay in an emotionally healthy place, or we're in an emotionally wounded place. And if your wounds are opening, if somebody says something to you about who you used to be, and you've come so far and you've gained so much in the way of maturity and career and relationships, and you've chosen well for yourself in many, many ways, but that one comment opens up a wound, and for the next month, you find yourself wanting reconciliation. You want to close a chapter in your life. You want to put a Band-Aid on the wound. You want to see the wound heal under the Band-Aid. You don't want to feel less than. You don't want to feel unseen, unknown, unwanted. You don't want to feel like that anymore. And the reason you don't want to feel like that is because you know intrinsically inside of you, it's not true. You are known. You are loved. You do belong. You're all the healthy parts that you want to be. But there's that child in you is like, but I want to hear it. I want them to show me. I want them to speak my love language. And that's the only way that I'm going to accept and receive the thing I think I'm missing from them. I need them to tell me how good I am. I'm going to put a hole in that right now, because it's not their job to tell you how good you are. It's your job to tell you how good you are. You're the only one that matters. Because if they're having a bad day and they can't tell you because they're telling you more about how unseen they are, and you're like, yeah, but I want to be seen. So I'm going to talk incessantly about something in order to get your agreement on it, because I will take agreement over a hug for now, because that's all I think I can have. That is a no-win scenario. You cannot be enough, know enough, talk enough, be funny enough. You can't do that and heal the wound, because you're trying to get something that's not being offered. That's emotional shoplifting. You're trying to get something that you think it's the only way you can receive it. You're not willing to receive it based on who the other person is. You're not willing to receive it based on the only means of expression the other people can muster up. You're only going to receive it if it's done your way, the way you need it to be done. That you get nothing. Your basket remains empty. No healing. No, good happy morsels. Nothing's in your basket. You went to the market and you stole nothing. You thought you stole a whole bunch. Thought you got away with it. But in the end, your basket was empty. You stole nothing. Emotional shoplifting, taking things that are not being offered for free. Now I'm pausing here for a second. I want you to hear that. It's like, where in my life am I doing that? Where do I go to the ends of the earth to bone up on a topic that I can speak to this person about, that they would see me for my value, that they would love me for going the extra mile to be there for them, or to know something that would be of value to them, to share with them when they're not asking you to share. Where are you doing that in your life? Because it's not serving you. It just leaves you empty because you gave and gave and gave and you received nothing in return because it wasn't being offered. So why are you still trying? If you are working hard to receive support, guidance, to be in agreement with someone who is usually disagreeable, especially when it comes to you. They're controversial. They're going to poke holes in the choices you make for your life. They're going to say that you didn't do your homework and you don't know enough and you're not smart enough to see through the cracks that they can see through. How does that feel? It feels terrible. It feels empty. I used to do this with my mother. I tell a lot of stories about myself and in relationship to my mother because she was emotionally immature and so was I. And so my efforting was my emotional immaturity. That's where I was trying to emotionally shoplift from her. I thought that if I could have a family and have all these children really close together and that I could mother them and we could have fun and become close and tight with one another, my mom would go, "Oh, I did it wrong. You're so good at this. And I thought maybe her being wrong would make me feel better. And I thought maybe her seeing how good I am at it would somehow fill the void of all those years of emotional neglect. That she would somehow see my value and go, "Oh my gosh, I missed the boat. I never saw all this light and love in you. And I'm so sorry. I tried to take it from you." But it never happened. It never happened. And what really happened was I was parenting my children for all the wrong reasons. I was trying to be a good mom to my kids, not to show them how lovable they are, but to show my mom how lovable I am. She would maybe love me now, or at least acknowledge that I was doing a good job at my parenting, and she never could. It wasn't in her to do in this life. She was too emotionally immature. I mean, how is a 3-year-old, emotionally immature 3-year-old, supposed to say, "Wow, you're doing such a good job"? Have you ever heard a 3-year-old say that? No. 3-year-olds are not capable of saying, "Oh, you're doing such a good job at your parenting." No. And so that was my misperception, that I could try harder or know more, or even try and shame her for what she didn't know that I know as a parent. Everybody knows as a parent that this is what you do, not that. I that's pride, that's ego. Like I tried all the ways to get her to see that I was a good person, that she missed the boat not wanting to get to know me. And there was no win in that because I was just taking from her. I was emotionally shoplifting what it wasn't that she wasn't even offering it. It was that she was incapable of offering it. So what are you doing that's efforting, that opens something triggers you, right? Triggering is like putting a gash back in an old wound. When you feel triggered, somebody brings up something from the past, shame shows up really fast, and all of a sudden you're startled, blindsided, you're in a triggered moment, your nervous system's on fire, and you're trying to backpedal and make it right. You're trying to go with the flow. You're trying to just let it blow by you without effect, and it doesn't. And then days later, you're still trying to emotionally shoplift from this person and trying to get them to say, my comment about you was not to make you feel bad. It's probably the thing I admire most about you. Like, we were trying to get them to smooth it over so we could feel better. And it's not going to happen. It's not their job to do that once you are over the age of 18. It's your job to emotionally mature and grow by seeing that it's not you that was ever in question. It was them. It was their misgivings, their misconceptions. Maybe they didn't even understand. Maybe they never even stepped into their parenting role. And your siblings carry very similar wounds, so they can easily trigger that old wound in you when they're repeating something they heard their parents say to you. But there's another aspect of this. There's another aspect of emotional shoplifting, and that's when you're like trying to eke your way into someone's life. You're trying to pry open the door of belonging and show them everything you do, the efforting, the knowledge, the hard work, the good, the promotion you got, the award you received, the article that was published, the giving that you spend your life offering, that you're doing that to make room for yourself in someone's life because your perception is that there isn't a place for you in their life. What I didn't understand with my mother is that she needed me to belong to her. She was incapable of making me feel like I belonged to her. She couldn't figure out how to allow me to belong to her when she never even belonged to herself. She had self-abandoned her entire life. She had left herself hanging out in the cold with the story that I am not loved. No one will ever love me. So how was she ever going to tell me how much she loved me when she could not express that about herself? She couldn't act that way. She couldn't live her life in a manner that is showing some respect and some consideration for her own needs. So she needed me to belong to her. And it was a battle. It was a battle for me to say, I belong here, so stop trying to push me away. And we are family, so you don't get to go through this alone. But it was verbal. I had to say, she had had open heart surgery and she went in by herself without telling anyone, right? Who does that except for a profoundly lonely person? And when she was coming out of the anesthesia, they forget. Their memory's not back yet. They forget and forget and forget and forget. So every time she would come to and saw me standing there, she goes, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And then she would fall back asleep, and then she would wake up and go, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Because I'd flown across the country to be with her. And so 15 different times I had to hear her disappointment that I was there. But if I had taken it personally, I would have left. I would have been like, fine, you old biddy, you stay there. I'm going to go away so you can be alone in your profound aloneness. But my insistence of, it's okay, I'm here and we'll get through this together. It's okay. Those were my hugs to her until she allowed me to give her a physical hug. She didn't accept those very easily. She didn't like to be touched. I mean, I think she really she was desperate for touches, but one touch would never be enough. And she would, die of wanting more. So she just pushed that away. She just didn't want to accept it because it would be so much more lonelier if she got one hug and that was it. And that was the supply and demand was over. So are you trying to pry the doors open in someone's life, trying to belong? I see this in my family all the time. I see people trying to belong to somebody else because they think they don't. They think they don't belong, but what they're really perceiving is somebody didn't have the ability or the capability of including that person, wrapping their arms around them and holding them close to them and saying, I love you, I see you, you matter to me, I know your worth. And all I want for you is for you to know your worth. If that was possible, wounds would heal. But it's not possible. And so these people whom I love, it's painful to watch because hours of talking about nothing are spent trying to get something in return, trying to feel validated, trying to feel the agreement, trying to feel connected, trying to make an emotional connection happen, because the perception is that there's no room for them because this other person is so distracted in caring about everything and everyone, that doesn't matter to them. Listening to the voices of the world, paying attention to politics, watching the stock market rise and fall, watching real estate and the economy and the presidential election and all the things that really don't matter. Like, they matter, but they don't matter like intimate relationships matter. There's no emotional connection with those outside noises. And when you're trying so hard to fit yourself into a life where someone is so distracted by outside noises that they don't have, or it appears that they don't have time for you, or they're not going to emotionally connect with you the way you say it has to happen, with, words of affirmation, or, with gifts, or whatever your love language is, touch, time, then you're the one that loses. You're the one that misses out on an opportunity to give, not to get, but to give. Give to give because it feels good. So here's the antidote for emotional shoplifting. Assume you belong. Assume you are known. Assume you are valid. Assume you are valued. Assume you are loved. And assume you are loved dearly, deeply, intimately. Emotional shoplifting is exhausting, and it's based in fear. And that's not who you are. You are not a fearful person. You just think there's something to be feared, that this person that you love so much is going to die without knowing you. That's not true. They do know you on many levels. My mother knew who I was. She definitely did. She just didn't have the ability to show me that she knew. So I kept trying to get her to show me that she knew. It wasn't until I took charge of my life, my emotional security, my loneliness. I took charge of it. I took personal responsibility, and I started giving, because if I wanted a hug, then I could only imagine how much she wanted a hug. So I would just give her a hug. And I would give her a hug and tell her I loved her, and it always felt good because I wanted to. Remember, that is the key to removing resistance to trying to force yourself on other people, trying to be validated and seen by other people, is to love them. Your love is enough for you. It's enough for them. It's only if you think you're empty that it's too much. I can't give them what I want to receive from them because they're not going to give it to me. That's not the game that you need to play. You're playing the wrong game. The game that wins is love. So if you come at it from a standpoint of, man, I love that person so much, I'm going to run up and give them a hug. I'm going to kiss them on the cheek, tell them how much I love them. It's going to freak them out, and I love it. You are here because you're full of love. You are light. The unbelief in you that is holding you back from the relationship you really want to have with somebody, that's darkness. That's not light. That's not love. That's fear. So if there's someone in your life, just know you always belong. Somebody that you like, oh, I want to belong to this person. I want to matter to this person. You do matter. It's just that you think you don't matter. That's what's holding you back. Like, your perspective is what's holding you apart from the love you want the most, and from the person you want that love from the most. Stop expecting them to give it to you the way you think you need to hear it or receive it. Just go to them and give them the love that you want to receive, and you'll discover that your candle lit their candle, and now the room's brighter. Everything's better. Just because you take a lit candle to somebody and give somebody a hug whose wick is not lit, and you give them a hug and you think it's going to put your wick out too, it does not. When your wick touches their wick and your wick was lit, their wick gets lit. Everybody wins. Now your unbelief, the parts of you that still feel dark about not feeling loved, not feeling valued, not feeling like you matter, can be increased. It can turn everything around. When I started taking initiative with my mother and insisting that I belonged in her life, she softened up. She didn't push me away. She welcomed my visits. She was happy that I thought of her. She was grateful for a letter I wrote to her when I was in the middle of raising a family. And it felt good to me too. There was way less struggle in me. Way less. That doesn't mean all my wounds were healed. It means that I was slowly and incrementally healing the wounds that I had the power to heal. And one way was by giving because I wanted to. I wasn't going to take anything for free. I wasn't trying to emotional shoplift anymore. I was just giving the thing that I wanted most, but I found that I got the thing I wanted most when I became the thing I wanted most. I became the hug I wanted. I became the value I wanted. I became the knownness that I wanted. I became not lonely. I became belonged to the people that I wanted to belong to. Now, the caveat is I was doing work behind the scenes. It wasn't just all about that relationship I was trying to have with my mother. I was working on my relationship with God. I was known, loved, and seen by my Heavenly Father. And it added to the brightness of my candle. I had more light and love to share. And it didn't take anything away from me to give that love to the ones who couldn't give it to themselves. They were incapable of giving it to themselves. Emotional shoplifting only hurts you. It never adds unto you. But when you work on your relationship with yourself, who am I and what do I want, and who am I to God, and what would He want for me? He wants you to be happy. He wants you to feel His love, and He wants you to know how worthy you are of it. So don't try and take it from, the natural man that's struggling to know their own worth, that haven't done the work inside, so they still feel empty and they've got nothing to give you, but you're still trying so hard to take it from them. Stop efforting. It's really not worth the effort because you're not getting anywhere. You're not feeling better about it. You might have a glimpse from working really, 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 really hard at it, and then suddenly they give you an itty bitty nugget of hope that maybe they do know you, or maybe you have been seen, or maybe they do love you more than you've given them credit for loving you. Yeah, it is your job to go figure out who you are and what you want, and especially see yourself through the eyes of God. Do that work behind the scenes, and you will do so much less of the emotional shoplifting. That's not to say you'll stop doing it completely, because you'll have moments where you're off track and you're feeling out of balance and you've given more than you received and all the stuff that goes with life and our ups and downs. But you will feel better, and you will have more light, more love to share with the people you care most about, and it will be added unto you. I promise. Your light will light other people up. Your candle will light their candle for as long as they let their candle burn, but they're perfectly capable and able to and have the right to blow out their own candle. But don't blow yours out just because they blow theirs out. Keep your candle burning bright, and you have to do that with daily interaction with God. You have to know who you are to Him, and you need to study it out in your mind You need to pray if it is true. And then you write about it. Journal, journal, journal. That's where the real light comes through, because it comes through in personal revelation. It comes through in true knowing that you are seen and loved. And then you'll stop trying to get it from everybody else. Okay? Okay. Sounds good. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you later. Thanks for listening. I invite you to leave your feedback and share your aha moments as you listen to this podcast. Also, you can access more information or any of the programs, courses, or worksheets that I've mentioned on these episodes on my website at teresaford.life. Or what I would really love is for you to connect with me on Instagram at teresaford.coaching and on Facebook at Coaching with Teresa Ford, so I can give you more interesting insights and further coaching to help you fulfill the measure of your creation.